Hi, my name is Fidan, and this is curated by Fidan Studio Visit series. In this series, I visit artists in their studio and take a look at their way of thinking, the way of creating, and have a heart-to-heart conversation about art making and in general art. In this channel, I talk about art, artists, art fairs, galleries, and everything art related.
This stone was embedded in this stone. Basically, it was like a whole rectangle of stone. And then all of this was carved into the stone. So this was negative. So that's what I mean by and reverse engineering it. So it's basically like you're printmaking in the stone, and then the bronze fills any of the cavities. I started doing this in 2019 as well. How do I merge the metal and the stone? And I realized that it works better if it's hard stone. So this is actually granite, which is really hard to cut into. I tried sandstone, I tried marble, black marble, and I realized that I have to go really deep. The cavity is like almost an inch, basically. The stone gets so hot that it gets trapped in the metal. They merge. So this is actually a map. It's called the Ring of Fire. So it's actually a map of the Ring of Fire, which is like the area in the Pacific where the tectonic plates are, where it's most susceptible to earthquakes, and the triangles represent volcanoes, and these represent the tectonic plates. This is still in progress. I'm not sure exactly if I want to keep it oriented this way or if I want to flip it, but this is basically burnt wood and metal. So I basically poured the metal into the cavities, and the wood and the metal got sandwiched together. This turtle actually came from, I've had this turtle since I could remember. I do this thing sometimes when I'm brainstorming where I'll put little guys on things when they're still in process. So he's here. He's helping me see what's next for this piece. So this is called Stardust, and this is actually a starfish inside of glass, and it has phosphorescent glass inside, so it glows. I also have been working on a series with glass and different sea life, but the starfish came from a tchotchke shop. I still blessed the starfish, thanked him for his life, and when I ultimately drop the body, I'll have somebody put my ashes in a glass sculpture. So I realized that all sea life has a different form inside of the glass. So sea urchin has a different pattern. Everything breaks down differently. So the negative space is where the starfish once was, and all this is the starfish's ashes. And then there's phosphorescent glass embedded inside of it. Basically a garlic ring holder. So you can put in the rings on top of him, and then he just goes right into the wall.
You made the ring?
Mm-hmm. And then garlic has long been a symbol of eternal life and and protection. And he can just house any of your little rings, and he goes just on your wall.
What are these other pieces here?
So these are all kind of in the brainstorm phase. So these will probably go into other sculptures. So these are little fishies that I carved. So I basically carved this into the stone. So the same way everything was reverse. So I carved this little fishy into the stone and drilled a hole inside. And then this is black marble. So the black marble just got kind of sandwiched. This I've been working on for a really long time. I'm not sure exactly. It's gonna go into blue stone, or how he's gonna live. So these are all kind of parts of sculptures that will ultimately go in other sculptures, except him, he's done. So in making this wearable sculpture, I kind of wanted to bridge the gap a little bit and create something that was wearable sculpture, but that was also art piece that could live on its own. So this is basically a necklace that comes on and off of the sculpture. So you can take it off and wear it, or he lives here in his little home. This is the little lapis guy, and these are his two windows. I've been using a lot of window iconography. Again, this is the stone and the metal that I heated together, but this little character is looking out both of his windows. And with the windows, I see almost like a window within. He's kind of in conversation with these two windows. So he's in process of trying to open his window inside. But he's also a necklace.
Hi, Lara. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for inviting me to your studio and letting us do this. It's very valuable. I want to know a little bit about your childhood and when was the first time you realized, or someone in your family realized that, oh, this kid has artistic side. What was the first things you were creating?
I am grateful in that I was raised in a home that was very, very, very creative. I mean, my parents were not artists, but it was very much like, I mean, both of my sisters are artists. So it was like, whatever your talent is, we really want to nourish that. So I was in art school. I mean, it was this place called Mission Renaissance, which was basically teaching you how to go from pastel to watercolor, like learning how to paint like a master, which I did, but I never really wanted to paint. I was always like, even in high school, I got to major in art, which was really cool. I went to like a very liberal high school. So I made like an installation with a bubble machine that was like basically my like 17-year-old existential crisis of like what happens when we drop the body, and like I made all these monsters and these bubbles, and it was like the bubble's gonna pop, and like I had like a bubble machine, and yeah, so it was like always very much encouraged. But then I went to Barnard College because I thought I don't want to go to art school, like I want to get a real job. Like I was good in school. Like I thought I could do something that could give me kind of some stability in that way. And then I had basically one semester without art class. And I realized that like in the world, like I was either an artist or kind of like nuts. I was like, I need to go to Central Park and pretend to be a stork and lay an egg. And like, I can't do that if I'm like, I don't know. I thought I'd be like a therapist, I guess. I guess I could in some like...
Were you studying to be a therapist?
I didn't make, no. So basically after one semester of trying, like at that point you didn't have to choose. I was like, okay, well, I guess I have to be an artist. So I had a professor at the time, Joan Snitzer, my sophomore year, who was like, it's okay, you're not a painter, like you're a sculptor. And I was like, okay. Because it was like I didn't want to make it, in the frame. So I ended up majoring in art history because at Barnard you couldn't major in art. So I majored in art history and concentrated in visual art, which was awesome because I actually got to like work with a lot of professors at Columbia because you could take classes in their grad program. So I worked with John Kessler and Douglas Repetto and a lot of people who were just like really instrumental in helping me with like sculpture. At Sanford Biggers was a really great professor at that time. And I mean, I realized in my sophomore year of college, I couldn't really get away with something else.
Yeah.
It was just what I,
So you realized you were an artist.
Nothing I could do about it.
I wanted to ask in general, how have you been? What is going on this week? How are you feeling? And how it reflects to your art?
Yeah, this week has actually been a very exciting week. So I am working on glass trees that I have been working on probably I started wanting to make them about 5 years ago, if not earlier, but that was when it was like conscious. And I am almost done with 1 foot tall versions of these glass trees. So I'm making one glass palm, which is like a recreation of the ancient palms that were basically formed from 2,000-year-old seeds that were germinated in Jerusalem, as well as a glass Joshua tree, because Joshua trees may be extinct in 2100. So I want to capture that in glass. So this week has been very exciting. Personally, it's been nice to be in New York and just kind of rest a little bit. I've been traveling a lot since December, but it's been nice just to kind of hunker down and start to put form to things that have been floating in my head for a long time.
Can you tell me more about the glass artwork? Is this your new experiment or is this the latest project you are working on?
This is the latest project. I've been working in glass since 2016, so about 10 years. Glass trees are challenging because the texture is really hard. So I work in cast glass, sculpted glass, I do blowing, but the trees I'm specifically working on in the casting process, which is basically like lost wax. So you basically create a wax, make a mold around that, steam out the wax, and put the glass inside. The reason the trees are so challenging is because the texture is really hard to capture in glass, because glass, as you might have seen, wants to be smooth and fluid because it's an amorphous solid or liquid, depending how you think about it. So it has that fluid kind of sheen. So for it to be really textured is really hard technically. So I've been working on the Joshua tree texture specifically since 2019. So I guess I've been working on these trees for a while.
Have you visited Joshua Tree?
Yeah, so I grew up in California. I grew up in Los Angeles, and Joshua Tree was always my like escape place that I would go. I would just drive into the desert and just have this quiet time. And then during peak COVID, I actually drove across the country with this project looking for trees with stories of survival and like recorded them with this device that tracks the electrical difference between the leaves and roots of trees and translates that into sound. But I ended at Joshua Tree, and then I did a glass residency there at Yucca Valley Material Lab, which is amazing, and spent like 3 weeks or a month or something in the desert when there's nobody around, and all the other artists in the residency canceled because of COVID, so it was just me. So I was like staying in an Airstream trailer there, like basically in solitude, just with the trees. It was great.
I also been to Joshua Tree during COVID, but it was a one-day trip, and I really loved it.
It's like being on another planet.
It is. So the next question is, how do you know when a work wants to begin?
Oh, that's a good question. I have never tried to find a work. It always just comes. It's like whether it's in a dream, kind of like some intuitive thing. Like I'm never sitting in the studio trying to figure out what to make. It's like I basically have so many things, and then I'm like, okay, what's the order of the thing? Like for me, it's more of a, how do I materialize this? And because of a lot of what I like to work with, bronze, glass, stone, there's an expense. I think it's partially because my underlying theme, it's like a scientist never has enough, like, you know, like there's always more to learn about the same hypothesis. Like it doesn't really end. So for me, like, it's really like the science of the soul, the science of what is here in the physical, really from my spiritual practice, which is like a sound current path, it's called, which is really like the direct experience of the divine, like whatever you want to call it, within. And so my experience has been really that when everything breaks down, it's one, like we're all one. So it's using material, using matter, using glass, stone, and heat to transform these substances into one form. Basically, like I've been merging glass and stone and marble and bronze for like 10 years. Like, so there's always more, you know, and like that's one, just exploration. And then with these trees, it's really like a way to capture in glass, which, you know, is almost like it's an amorphous solid liquid, and it's kind of alive. It's constantly moving, constantly changing, really from the framework of like our time here on the planet is like a blip, you know? So it's like even these Joshua trees have been here since, we know, at least the Ice Age, you know, probably before, but they used to be like pollinated by giant 9-foot tall sloths and now they're pollinated by a tiny yucca moth. And I don't think the correlation is just because like they end with O-T-H, like, but you know, it goes beyond any kind of comprehension. And who knows in, you know, 20,000, 30,000 years, like what's gonna happen if these trees will be here anymore. And if this glass survives it, but also that how important it is for humans to really take responsibility and protect these trees. You know, so with Joshua trees, they're in a hot spot. Like scientists are saying they might not live past 2100. We don't know. I mean, we'll see. But just how important it is to really like take responsibility for the planet and like, you know, do what we need to do together and work in community. I'm never really searching for something to make.
Do ideas arrive you visually, emotionally, or physically for you?
That's a really good question. Visually, but then sometimes it's hard to put in words because there's not exactly like an image that's concrete, but it's more of like a flow of something, almost like if you picture like an ocean or something and it's like, oh, this got to go in there. Okay. Like I don't sketch naturally. Every time I've been, like I went to grad school and, well, I mean, they didn't make me sketch in grad school, but like a lot of people around me, like everybody would always sketch and then make the idea. I only sketch and I only do mock-ups if I have fabrication work that other people have to understand. Otherwise, it's all in my head. And it is not natural for me to put it out in that way until I make the final thing.
When I was taking mixed media classes, my instructor also said, sketch.
Yeah.
And I would never sketch because it's just not possible. When I start doing something, it continues, but I can't sketch. And then I read somewhere Richard Serra never sketched. So a lot of artists actually don't sketch, they just create the art. Like there is some kind of divine energy there between you as an artist and an idea, that it comes and talks to you and you bring it to life.
Yeah.
Here. You are here.
You're just like a vessel. I mean, that's the nice thing too, because I feel like with being an artist, it can be easy to get into, oh, this person doesn't like this or blah, blah. And it's like, but this is not personal, just like being told what to make. So like, you do what you want. What
is the first move you usually make in the studio? I want to talk about your daily routine. Let's put it in a two ways, because one, I want to know, how do you start your day at home? What do you do the first thing as your routine in the studio?
In the studio.
Is there things that you put you in a mood to create, or you believe that this is your ritual? If you start this way, the day will go amazing?
So every day I start with meditation, and that's like what I do every morning. And then after, I'll usually do some form of exercise. Every day is different. So not every day is a studio day in here. I also work at different glass studios. I don't have all the glass facilities in my studio. So my studio is more of like my brainstorming with my stones and my things and like piecing everything together. And then also like gluing or whatever kind of, putting together I need to do at the end. But a lot of the glass fabrication takes place at Shiny Sparkle Studios in Red Hook. And I also work out of Brooklyn Glass in Gowanus. So I kind of like move around. I actually find that my best stuff happens when I'm traveling or when I'm not trying to I do a lot of residencies. A lot of the work that I make, I'll make in residency and then bring it back. So here in the studio, I would say it's like, this is like my brainstorm space and my piecing together space. Depending on the project, I'll make it in here, but not everything.
Tell me more about the art residencies. Why do you think it brings you more ideas? Is this the change of scenery or limitation of the residency, that there's a special topic or special thing you have to work on?
I think like the quiet. I mean, I love New York City and it is inspiring to me in certain ways, but the kind of work that I make here is a little bit more like heavy, if that makes sense. I go to India a lot for residency. I go to this like tiny village called Artachal that's like really smack dab in the middle of India, and you have to fly to Delhi and then take another 3-hour or 2-hour flight and then drive 3 hours. So it's like out there. But they have facilities for metal casting and for stone carving, and there's nothing going on. Like you can't even like go out, like you're in the compound. And there's like a sculpture park there, and also people helping and I have an amazing team here in New York and people who help, but in terms of like brainstorming and everything, like it's expensive to produce here. So if there's like kind of like a built-in team at the residency, it's like I can't, move. I mean, we made a pulley system in here to move we can move maybe 500-600 pounds of stone, but like I can't move like thousands of pounds of stone. Like I can't, there's a lot of stuff I just can't do. I mean, I do have a friend who, he's become my friend. He's great and he can lift 500 pounds. He's very, very cool. It's hard in New York. That's why I would say like here it's more of like okay, how do I piece things together? And I also started making wearable sculpture, like smaller scale stuff for that reason, so that I can for a couple reasons, like so that I can have a mix of things, because some of my larger projects just take longer, and also so that I can create something that people can use in the everyday, because I feel like sometimes sculpture can be kind of inaccessible and, so.
How much of your process is intuitive versus deliberate?
It's really a mix. I feel like what I do is I set up parameters and then the materials kind of tell me what to do. I guess the materials and also like the divine, spirit whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So I'm very much lead, and that's more intuitive. Then it's like I use heat a lot. So heat, like glass is molten at 2000 degrees, like that I know. So it's like, okay, if I'm going to heat these things to this temperature, this is going to happen. Glass and stone basically are like incompatible on that level, except when there's a way to kind of have them cohabitate. But it's really like using the temperature and listening, So it's both. Like if I just try to have an agenda with it, everything's going to shatter.
But when do you know the piece is finished?
That I have to walk away. So yesterday I was working on the chunk of the glass palm. I know there's a point where I overwork. I think part of it is experience, and part of it is knowing when to stop. But it was funny. Yesterday I was in the zone, I was working. And I always do like a blessing before I do work and ask for, whatever I need and let go of any attachment to the results. And I was working, I realized that there was wax all over my shoes. Like the brown wax, you don't want on your shoes. It was starting to smell, and I was like, okay, I'm done. But it was like, I had to stop, I was like, if I'd kept working, I would have ruined it.
This is like part of your ritual.
Yeah, like a daily practice, really with everything of like, asking for whatever it is I need, and then telling myself to let go of any agenda or attachment or whatever is really standing in the way.
Is it hard for you to let go of your art?
It used to be actually really hard, and now it's not, which is cool. But that I would say now is in the last recent, some months, maybe a year. No, some months, yeah.
Do you know the count of art you have made?
Do I know how many?
The count of how many art you made?
No. I have gone through phases where I obsessively create. I mean, I tell my mom to save the stuff that I made when I was a kid, but I ever since college, I have been making God knows how many pieces of work every year. And I don't think I liked anything until I actually started liking my work, I would say in 2023. I didn't like it till then. But that for me is huge.
Is there artwork that you have pictures or it's still in your studio and you look back and you start liking them? Or?
Yeah. I mean, I always am like, I could have something, but I appreciate. If not like, I have an appreciation.
Is there a reason you didn't like your art before?
Because I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do. So basically it was like I didn't know glass yet. And so it was like I was trying to, I made a whole series that was called Systemic Living, where it was like I crystallized an entire room and I was trying to see what life is, what is an underlying system. And I didn't know how to work the materials that I wanted to work yet. I didn't have the technical training, and I just did it with sheer grit and blood and sweat and you know what I mean? And so it was I look back and appreciate that I did that, and I had to do that to learn something. It was I was trying to get at something that I couldn't get with the materials just because I didn't have the experience that I needed.
Do you think space limits you? Did your sizing of your art changed while you moved studios?
Even after college, I graduated from college, right? I graduated from college in 2012, and then I didn't have a studio for 1 year, and I was making these kinetic sculptures at the time. I made a beating heart and a spine that moved on a spinal cord with on a motor with a DC motor. I had these things in my apartment, so it was getting very Beetlejuice, but no, I had a beating heart under my bed, and I was pouring resin in my room. And then after I don't think it even lasted a year, and I was no, I'm gonna die. No. So then I got studio space and have always had studio space. But that said, I moved into this space after grad school in 2018. Couldn't afford a big space, so I had maybe 200 square feet, no less, little cubicle, and then we had some common space, and it was so hard because at one point I think I wanted this asphalt or something. I carried asphalt from God knows where. I had these Con Ed guys helping me. I've always been very fortunate in people wanting to help me carry heavy things, but and like these Con Ed guys helping me carry asphalt that I needed, that like, you know, and so it was like I wanted to make these big things with these heavy materials, but I only have the strength that I have, and like I didn't have any space. And so it's only been slowly, gradually, like little by little, having more space. So now I have this size studio, which is, I would say, comfortable. Larger projects that I'm working on, I can't make in here. I have to make elsewhere or on site or something. But this is a big enough space to breathe. But otherwise, I mean, I've only had this space for, I think it's been 2 years.
Do you work better at certain times, day, or in a certain states of mind?
For a long time, I actually judged myself about this because I had this concept that I needed to get up really early and stay up really late. And so I would force myself to do that, and then everything I'd make would be really bad. My ideal studio time is 11 until 5, 6. Like, I'm not an early morning and I'm not a late night. And that is when I do my best work. And that is just the best time for me. And it is the most efficient and effective time. And it's taken me a long time to accept that.
What is your unwind routine? Once you are done with studio, you go home.
I take meditation and then teach meditation. So I write a lot, I journal.
Do you cook?
I started cooking. I'm trying to cook. I'm really trying to cook. It's been new. I was like very much not a cook for a long time, and now I've been trying to cook Indian food. It takes a long time. What I cook is fish with nothing on it, chicken with nothing on it, but like not everybody loves this. So vegetables with lemon.
I realize there is some kind of spiritual thing about cooking, that you being able to nourish yourself.
Yeah.
That is something I realized a little late. I have phases with cooking, and I do find cooking a little more artistic practice. I mean, it is kind of artistic process.
It is.
So that's why I ask this question from everybody, that do they cook? What's your process? What's your state of mind? Does it inspire you? Do you like to go over the recipe, like outside of the recipe? Do you add something else? Or
what I have just started doing in the past maybe year or two is, now I do enjoy going to the grocery store, which is new for me, but I only like very fresh, like, you know, whatever and I won't buy any fruits or vegetables that like, also like every food has a vibration. You can feel it in your body. Like the other day I walked into Whole Foods and I couldn't get any produce because it all felt really flat and not nourishing. I like went today and got all these vegetables, like fresh vegetables, and I'll cook. But like, I do like the flavor of the pure food, which is not for everybody, but I like just really good quality food. And then I just basically don't put anything on it. Everything, like a little bit of salt, like really good quality salt, a little bit of olive oil, and like, yeah, just kind of the pure thing. And it feels the best, like steamed, or, you know, because the food, like when it's actually without a bunch of, I mean, that's the other thing, is a lot of the food in America really messes with my system because I'm really sensitive and I can't handle any preservatives. And so I feel like in other countries I can eat a lot of things that I cannot eat here. So that's one thing with cooking, is it is like, at least you can kind of, if you really go just to the farm stands.
what happens in your body when you are deeply immersed in making?
I don't feel my body at all, honestly. I mean, which is probably how I let my shoes get like waxed on without like really realizing where the smell was coming, because I'm not really in my body. And I think that, I mean, I've taught yoga for 20 years. And so it's not like I'm not a body, like I was very much trained to be in my body, and you know, but when I'm really creating, I don't have any concept. Like I don't really get hungry. I try to eat regularly because I know that about myself, and then I get cranky. But like, yeah, it's not in my body. It's like my body is just doing what it needs to do. That has gotten me, like one time I was in the glass studio. Now I always have people help me, but I thought that I could ladle, God knows, I thought I could carry basically 100 pounds, like forward like this.
Yeah.
No. So I like third degree burned myself. So now like I've developed, you know, ways to handle this, like wearing all the protection that I need, putting down parameters if I need to make sure that I'm safe. But when I'm really focused, like the physical part is a little bit like off, which is not great for glass blowing, glass casting, which is why now I more so just say I have help. and orchestrate what needs to be done rather than doing all the heavy lifting myself.
Do you listen to music when you make art?
I do. I listen to music. I listen to podcasts. Well, I mostly listen to like songs or spiritual instruction from my teacher. I used to listen a lot to You Must Remember This podcast. It was like,
What is it about?
I haven't listened to it in a while. It was about like different actors in like the 20s and 30s and like memory, or like there was a whole episode on Judy Garland. I like things that I just didn't know much about. I listen to a lot of it. I haven't listened to, mostly now I listen to the spiritual instructions.
Does making art drain you, energize you, or both?
I think I used to get drained a lot because I very much would try to carry ridiculous things on my own. Although the other day I was in here and I was like, when I'm like not in good physical shape, like I can't really make work. And I didn't think about it until I was like moving all this stuff around and then somebody was like watching me do it and you know. But that like, I feel like what I used to do was try to lift 100 pounds, which I don't do anymore. That was obviously draining and I would also push myself physically. Now I don't do that and it's energizing. Like I don't really ever leave the studio and feel drained unless I'm packing up something, which I don't like doing, which is a bummer because I don't like packing art. I usually don't do it, but when I do it, I don't like it. That's the only thing I find draining. I mean,
Is it packing for art fairs or galleries? Or?
Yeah, for anything. Yeah. I mean, for sales, usually I'll have, help. But like in general, packing glass gives me anxiety. It's like one of the few things. I don't know. I mean, you have to foam, blah, blah. Like, it's just not my favorite thing to do.
Actually, this is related. Do you ever step outside of studio or step outside from your art to protect your creativity?
Yes, a lot. And if I notice that I'm draining myself or that I'm about to do something I'm going to regret later, I now have gotten a lot better at being like, okay, no, stop. Just stop.
Have you ever destroyed any of your art?
Oh, yeah. I just remembered something that I forgot about. This was in college. This is the only time I did this, but this was funny. I have like destroyed things or, broken them because I was mad at them or like, not in a long time. But in college, I wanted to set a sculpture on fire. And we're in New York City. I went with my friends and we went to a town that will remain unnamed and took the sculpture on the train with like fire, whatever those fire starter things are and all these other things. Set it on fire.
Was it a part of the art?
Yeah, I made a video piece about it, etc. But it was also just practically really hard to set something on fire.
Would you ever consider applying for Burning Man? I have a lot of art that they burn.
They burn. I don't think I could manage it. I have a lot of trouble with just like, not that everybody's doing drugs, but just like the energy with that. I can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard mixed stories. I've heard a lot of drug stories. I have heard a lot of non-drug stories.
Yeah.
They had an amazing experience. I think at the end of the day, it just depends on a person, but undeniably there will be people around you who will be on drugs. It's part of that festival. It's insane.
But the burning stuff,
There's something about it. Spiritually, they turn to nothing and your attachment disappears.
Exactly, which is very cathartic. But it's like now I'll use the controlled fire, the glory hole they call it in the glass studio, where you can put things and they do burn in a controlled environment.
Do you need solitude to create, or does being around people matter?
I need solitude for the like inception of something. And then I do have to collaborate with a lot of people for what I do just with scale and technical stuff. Like I work with a lot of fabricators, so there is a lot of collaboration built in, but I do need that solitude for the initial. I'll need quiet sometimes for, like in certain phases as well. But I don't need quiet all the time.
Have you heard about Julia Cameron's Artist Way book? So she basically recommends a couple of rituals and practices to open up your creativity, and one of them is morning page, the second one is artist dates. Basically you take yourself on a date You could be like visiting thrift store or going to museum, anything that inspires you. I want to ask you, what is your artist date? Do you do it? If you don't do it, what is your thing that inspires you? When you feel blocked, you do this ritual or you do this thing and it brings back your creativity.
For me, water is a big part of it. Just being like walking on the beach, even honestly being by a pool, just like being by a body of water is very helpful for me if I'm feeling like any stuckness. And I will do that, like give myself, I've always called them vacation days, where it's like I'll just like be in the city and like it's like I'm a tourist in New York and I'll go to a museum or take myself to lunch and like bring a journal and just kind of like, I take a lot of notes on my phone actually. So I have always done that. I remember the first time I did that actually when I first moved to New York, and I realized that it was like the coolest thing ever when I like went to the Met when it was, I don't know what the hours now are exactly, but it used to be like on Friday nights it was open later. I did that a lot right when I moved to New York, and I was like, this is so fun. And people like who became my friends are like, what are you doing tonight? Do you want to go out? And I was like, very busy.
What's your favorite museum?
I honestly think it's the Met, probably. Still, I'm a sucker for wandering the halls and looking at for some Hellenistic sculpture for me. I just have to like look at it every once in a while, like in person. And same with like ancient Egyptian. Like, I mean, I get inspiration from a lot of contemporary art, but I would say that if I'm feeling kind of like stuck in any way, shape, or form, really going back to like, or just like really, really ancient artifacts, like what happened when people like the beginning of this idea of art, you know, like that for me helps like free up some space.
Do you think when you make art, does it connect you to your ancestors?
I mean, I've had experiences. I don't focus on past lives. It's not my focus, but like I have had experiences of that, like, you know, being an artist in another body or something. But in terms of my family or ancestors, like recently I was in Bhopal in India, and they have these like ancient cave drawings, which are like the only ones that you can go see. The other ones that are they Spain or France? Like it's a replica, like you can't see the originals, and the cave drawings are like 30,000 years old. And people that lived there for like 1.5 million years. It is very inspiring to me. Maybe so like early ancestors, maybe in a more like overarching kind of way.
What does community play in your creative life?
It is important, actually. I mean, especially with glass. Glass is just not a one-person job, and neither is metal, like, you know, bronze, brass. Like, I mean, stone can be, but I'm not like a soul stone carver. Like a lot of the work that I do is project specific, and I'm not like sitting there in solitude carving stone for like a really long time. So with glass, it's like you kind of need community. I actually would say I rely on community a lot. Also because I'm always doing something, not always, often doing something that people say it's not supposed to work. So I rely a lot on people who have a lot of experience doing something, and then I take that into account and learn on my own, like, you know.
Do you try to avoid other artists' influence on you?
Like a lot of my friends who are artists influence me, and a lot of artists influence me. Like I don't have a fear that something I make will end up like somebody else. I feel like, yeah, I'm just grateful for like sharing. And also like I like to share. Like I don't really have a gatekeeping kind of thing. Like I know that, I mean, I have gotten some patents, but like I know that if somebody tries to create something that I've done, it's gonna be different. Like,
yeah, everyone has their own style.
Yeah.
It's never the same thing.
It's never the same. So I feel like that, like, yeah, working together helps everybody.
How has your relationship to making art changed over time?
It's become a lot more fun. I think that I put a ton of pressure on myself, make as much as I could, or compete with myself with, you know, whatever, I don't know, if it was opportunities or whatever. Like I needed to more achievement oriented or like career focused in that kind of way, I think. Took the fun out of it. And now I enjoy showing my art. I enjoy creating, but like, you know, really like the bottom line for me is just sharing, and like whatever opportunities come, or, you know, like it's great, but like I don't feel like driven in that same way, in like a pressure cooker kind of way. now it's like just grateful for the opportunities, and it's fun.
How do you navigate pressure, internal or external, while creating?
I mean, to be honest, I think that the moment that I think about selling something or external things, it kills it. And when I'm focused on the joy of it, like, and just really allowing it to move through me, then all that stuff is easy, like follows, like it's not, but yeah, like to be like, oh my God, I have to blah, 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 about this deadline, blah, blah, blah. Like it's so counterproductive. And it's just like one step in, like these trees I have literally been thinking about for so long, but they'll happen exactly when they're meant to happen, you know? And I think it's like really moving into like trust and letting the thing unfold in the timing that it's meant to, instead of just like forcing a bunch of stuff.
What do you wish more people understood about the artist's inner life?
Probably in general with everybody is just like compassion. I feel like in art, there's a lot of, you know, being hard on ourselves, and also like just a lot of self-judgment, anxiety about self-judgment, just all these kind of like projections. But I just feel like compassion, and like, I mean, I do love teaching and like young, you know, like as students are learning, even like I worked with a lot of students at Barnard for years. I haven't done that in a while, but just like the joy of something being new, and just like if we could all just share that a little bit, like instead of just like, you know, all this like, oh well, this happened and that, and I guess that's what happens when a lot of people get older, but it's like it doesn't have to be like that. Like it can be fun and sharing, and just like, yeah, I think if people like had compassion for each other, and also an appreciation for the sensitivity that is a lot of artists, and just kind of like, it's a hard thing to make art in New York City and everywhere, you know, you're taking a risk. And I think like I didn't have this experience, but a lot of parents were like, what are you gonna do? How are you gonna pay the bills? Like all this kind of stuff, like I imagine it's just like so hard for young people to, I mean, any person to hear, just like maybe like support for the fact that we don't know. Like a lot of people also make more money doing art than they would, you know, like whatever other job. Like we don't know. So just having compassion and letting people like be on their own journey.
I see this a lot of videos that, oh, this is cool. If you want to be cool, do this, wear that, whatever. And I think I'm a little tired of seeing that kind of content everywhere. Mm-hmm. Actually, the coolest thing is accepting what is cool for you.
Exactly.
What do you like? But I think I found this thing that if you want to be cool, support artists.
Oh, funny.
Buy artistic stuff.
Yeah.
Don't buy mass-produced thing. If your artist friend makes a jewelry, that is a unique piece you can wear, and you can't find it anywhere else. Zara won't make it. Or your artist friend making painting or sculpture, and another friend is getting married. Gift that.
Right.
Instead of, I don't know, buying something already you have done a million times. And also considering people are getting married, that they will buy. My basically question is, like, as an artist, what do you think, what else can support you from your community, from the people they don't even know you? What would be support for you besides buying your art?
Right.
I think the biggest thing is buying your art.
I think that the biggest supportive is just sharing excitement, you know, like, and I feel like I'll do that with my friends. So I'm excited about what they do, whether it's art or whether, you know, anything, is like telling somebody and sharing with excitement, because you never know. But also like somebody might really get something out of it, you know? So I feel like sharing, like, but it has to be if they actually really like it. Otherwise they can share, but it's not.
We are almost done, and I wanted to ask you for your future projects. What are the projects you are excited for this year? Mm-hmm. Or in general, is there things that excites you that, oh, I'm very close this year or next year, I'm finally realizing this coming, bringing them to the world?
Yeah. So the first thing is the glass trees. So now I'm making, eventually I want to make 12 foot, 14 foot tall glass trees. But I am starting with maquettes, which are also sculptures in their own right, which will be 12 inches. And then this year, my aim is to make one 3 foot tall tree. So they'll start to kind of become a little bit more scaling. I'm so excited about that. Like I've been honestly sitting on it for a while and kind of like playing the waiting game a little bit with looking for different opportunities for it. Now I'm just creating the opportunity. So I'll have a solo this year that the trees will be in is the plan in October. And so I'm going to try to make one 3-foot tall one by then. And then I'm working on this film project actually that I'm really excited about with these trees. There's basically like a small forest in this very tiny village in Galaxidi, which is like a 3-hour drive from Athens in Greece. Basically the community planted this forest like in the 20s after like the maritime heyday, and like they had seen all the, you know, all these trees being chopped down. They decided to create their own little green patch. So it's planted by the children, by the, you know, locals. So I've been working on this film project basically about this community. And I did an event there last year where we like sold t-shirts that the small children in the elementary school drew of the forest to like raise money for the forest. And so basically we're gonna do a film. We're working on a film with this woman, Sonia Schenkel, who's an amazing filmmaker and artist from Switzerland. And so we're collaborating on this film that will tell the story of this forest, but also the hope is kind of create some sort of a framework to protect small forests and maybe create an initiative for others to reforest their areas and also for the children to learn about the forest.
I also wanted to learn about your mediums, basically how you move through mediums. Paint also, but you have sculpture, you have wearable jewelries and stones and glass, so and metal. Tell me a little bit about your mediums.
What's funny is that a lot of it initiates in wax. So it's like the lost one, not the stone. The stone, I've just been collecting. I mean, I have all these like stones in here ranging in sizes that I've been collecting for. So the stones, I'll usually like kind of isolate and work with a small area and carve or polish. And so that's kind of distinct in its own right. But a lot of the glass work does start in wax form. Mm-hmm. And the jewelry starts in wax form. So a lot of what I'm forming is actually wax. This might be a little bit complicated, but the piece that I'm working on now, which will be in my show, is which I didn't mention till now, but it's a big world map. Mm-hmm. With like the volcanoes and all of the tectonic plates drawn out in bronze and in stone. So I carved the world map into the stone. Like a lot of how my brain works is like in reverse. So I carved the map into the stone and then worked the wax sheet, because it's basically gonna be in sheet form. So I did whatever I needed to do, melted the form so that that would read in the metal, put that on the stone, made a mold around that, steamed out the wax, and then poured it into the stone. Like how I work with everything is kind of like in reverse, if that makes sense. So it's like reverse stone carving, and then like wax is the mold. Like I'm always kind of thinking in reverse. So it's all kind of the same.
What do you carve and you pour the wax, and when you pull the wax out, that will become the piece of art, right?
So basically so I'm carving into the stone and then I put the wax plate on top. The piece is going to be the wax plate with the stone that the heat breaks off inside of it. So basically it's like reverse engineering it, but also taking into account what the heat is gonna do to the stone, because I want the heat to get absorbed into the stone, Does that make sense? And then I make a mold around that and then steam out the wax so that now that's negative space. Mm-hmm. And so the metal basically goes into where the wax was and into the negative cavities and then pulls off some of the stone, and then they merge together.
Oh, wow.
So like in all my materials, I'm kind of doing it in reverse and then using the wax, knowing what the heat is going to do, which is why it's hard to sketch, because it's like just in my head.
How big is the project?
That's going to be 6 feet by 3 feet.
Oh, wow. That's
and I made it in 18 parts because I took it from India in 5 suitcases.
How do you feel when you sell your art?
In the beginning of selling my art, I had a really hard time with it. There was even one time somebody really wanted to buy something and I was like, no. And then after like asking me like a bunch of times, I was finally like, okay. I had a hard time with parting with things, which was like not good. And now it's funny because obviously you need to sell your art to survive. But like, and to make more art, it's very important to sell art because it's a business. So it's very important to sell art. But no, I think that there are certain phases of things that I'm not ready to part with. And so now it's like, okay, I'm like, okay, this is at the stage where I'm ready. And now it's like, I think of it as like, this is the stage where it's done. Like it's cooked, I've been with it enough. And now it's ready to go out into the world. And I'm ready to part with it.
One more question about your necklace. Because I love giraffes and I realize you have a giraffe.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
I have giraffes all over my apartment, actually. So it's from my spiritual school. It's this idea of like giraffe consciousness, which is really like keeping the focus at spirit, whatever you want to call it. Like a giraffe only eats the top level of the trees, right? So like only keeping my consciousness at the top of the consciousness, which is the divine, and giraffes only eat that rather than like dumping down into the, mud and the gook. So I have giraffes everywhere.
Thank you so much, Lara.
Thank you.
I enjoyed this conversation a lot and I'm very excited for your next project. If you have anything else to say, this is the perfect moment.
No, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. And yeah, I'm so excited for what's to come.
Amazing.